we have for years solely relied on organic distribution for our shows. With Spotify and Apple, they're not even really trying to get your content in front of net new eyeballs. YouTube, I mean, the game is freaking hard. Like, you've got to nail thumbnails, you've got to nail title, you've got to nail opening hook. And so we've been banging our heads against the wall, frankly. Like, we're producing these incredible, like, high quality video podcasts. But at the end of the day, if we're only relying on organic distribution to get that content in front of the right people, we're...
Hey friend, welcome back to this week's episode of Distribution First. So excited to have my friend James on, the founder of Sweetfish, and it's super interesting time that we're in with how content is evolving here early in the year, and a lot of different things that I've been playing with, and I'm sure James, with all of the different clients and things that you've seen as well, you've seen a bunch of different stuff changing. And I'm super interested to just take this conversation in a really real way of where organic distribution is at, and kind of the challenges, the solutions, and where we can go. Because I think there's a lot of benefit to doing organic distribution, and I think a lot of people lean into that, but there's also a lot of challenges. So maybe walk me through some of the background that you've had on this, where you're going through, and we'll just dive right in.
Yeah. So we're a video podcast agency. So we're producing shows for, a bunch of different B2B clients right now, a lot of software companies, a lot of consultants. And we do these quarterly business reviews every quarter with our clients. And so it's kind of a way for us to, we've just recently started doing them, but it's a way for us to communicate, like, what am I thinking about right now? That is, I think, a reflection of, like, the broader media landscape, and like how are the bigger players playing the game? What are they doing that's winning? And then how can we apply that in a B2B context? And we have for years solely relied on organic distribution for our shows. And so you think about, video podcasts, like RSS feeds. So, distributing through Spotify, distributing through Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, obviously. But those channels, with Spotify and Apple, they're not even really trying to get your content in front of net new eyeballs. I think Spotify is making, I think they'll eventually get there. It seems like they're only prioritizing, like, the big dog shows right now. To my knowledge, I don't know of an ad platform or anything that you can pay to, like, get your show distributed in front of people that listen to other types of shows. I think that would be an incredible product for them to roll out. And if it's there, I just don't know about it. But YouTube, I mean, the game is freaking hard. Like, you've got to nail thumbnails, you've got to nail title, you've got to nail opening hook. But beyond that, like,
even then,
like, the idea itself has to be so freaking compelling. And the reality is, we're working with companies that sell, HR, payroll services, and, consulting and supply chain and logistics. It's like the idea that can work for that audience is not going to work in a organic distribution, like, world of YouTube. It's way too niche. And so we've been banging our heads against the wall, frankly, just like fighting a lot of churn in the business, because we're producing these shows. They're top shelf shows. We have a studio here in Orlando that you've been to. Like, we're producing these incredible, like, high quality video podcasts. But at the end of the day, if we're only relying on organic distribution to get that content in front of the right people, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And so we've started strongly advocating that our clients start taking some of their enormous paid media budgets. Like, when I start digging into, like, how much money these people are spending on paid media, and then you realize how much of it is going to a stupid ebook or, like, getting people to a webinar, I'm like, what? Like, just pull a percentage of that paid media spend and use it to fuel the content that you have been only relying on organic algorithms to distribute. Put some money in, like, YouTube has You can actually optimize for subscribers on YouTube
Mm,
through your Google Ads account now. It's relatively new, but we're like for a few dollars a subscriber, you can get targeted subscribers to your channel. You can get targeted views to your YouTube, to your YouTube channel. And so it's cutting through the noise of like hoping and relying on the algorithm to find the supply chain logistics
mhm,
manager at your, you know, 27 target accounts that you're trying to get into, and it drastically cuts that down. And is it going to be perfect all the time? No, but when you start looking at, you know, targeting on LinkedIn, either whether it's thought leader ads or just driving people to a landing page to get them to subscribe to the show, I really like thought leader ads. We've been seeing like 5 to 10 cent impressions on thought leader ads that I've been running for myself, but like vertical videos that your CEO or one of your co-hosts is posting, and then putting paid media dollars behind those posts. Now you've got to unhitch yourself from this idea that every single piece of content is going to drive, you know, a very specific ROI. But if you can do that, you are going to see results like self-reported attribution. Like you're going to start seeing people say like, oh yeah, I've been seeing your videos. Oh yeah, I started listening to your podcast a little bit ago. Um, it is inevitable, because if you're investing in high quality content, you have to at least equally invest in the money it takes to get that content in front of the right people. And so that's been the rant that I've been
mm.
singing for the last few weeks. And a lot of our clients are receptive to it. I've been really encouraged. I was worried that people are going to be like, "What? You want me to spend money on something that doesn't immediately translate to an MQL?" And I think that mindset is starting to die, and it needs to die, because we've got to start putting money behind distribution instead of just relying on organic
Mm.
algorithms to do all of our bidding for us.
It's so interesting. It's not, I totally agree. It's not something I am super familiar with. So I'd love to. I know we did it when we were at Metadata. We used podcast and things to drive demand and put money behind it and all that. But I'm not a paid ads guy. So
Yeah.
it's not the world I live in. Every paid ads or media buyer or people that I talk to, like, that does this for a living, it's just like no brainer. Like, makes a
Yeah.
ton of sense. I'm curious, from as a marketer who is like lives and dies by like content, like just
Yeah.
pure in its purest form,
Yeah.
right? Um, like how much money? Because I percentages of budgets or whatever, but like how much money? Like, are we actually, like, you're doing thought leadership ads? Like what
Yeah.
does that even look like, right? Like we're talking about like 2 grand a month that we're spending on here, and we're divvying it up in this places, like, and that's on top of our organic. It's just
Mhm.
fueling the rest of the engine. Like, how do
Yeah.
you think about that?
Yeah. So a buddy of mine that I was talking to about this the other day, he says he runs a similar business to mine, and he was like, I basically tell all of our clients they should be spending as much money to distribute the content via paid media. So like they should have as much paid media dollars assigned to the content as they spend to produce it.
Mm,
So if you're spending 10K a month on an agency like ours to produce a top shelf, you know, show, you should be spending at least 10K a month to distribute that show across channels. LinkedIn, we haven't started rolling this out to clients yet, but LinkedIn just rolled out a connected TV uh, ad platform. And so you can actually start to target like your target accounts when they're watching Hulu, or, you know, like all of these other like streaming TV services, which is bonkers. And I'm shocked that more people aren't talking about that. But
mm,
imagine getting your podcast trailer, or like a really solid piece of content, like your industry report that you just finished. Imagine promoting that from through LinkedIn connected TV, or like YouTube targeted ads, on a episode that you do where you're breaking down the findings from your report. Like target, like, okay, I want to target these specific people, just like you would in Google ads, right? Like it's contextual targeting. You put in the keywords, you put in the topics. So like you put in, dial in, who do I want to see this? And YouTube knows what people are searching on YouTube. So it is
Mm.
going to put it in front of people that have searched the type of keywords and searched the type of things that know, like, okay, this person fits into this bucket, and we're going to get this video that's about this topic in front of these people. And what do you know? Like, you've guaranteed the distribution of your content, as opposed to relying on the organic algorithm to just do it for you for free. And the thing, I understand why traditional creators don't do this, because traditional creators struggle with what businesses don't struggle with, which is traditional creators don't have a product to sell. So they're relying on like selling the attention of their audience, and businesses have a product to sell. They just suck at building an audience. And so because you have a product to sell, and if you can bone up on actually creating good content that is entertaining, and in so many of these niches, the bar is freaking low. Justin, you know that. Like, the bar
1,000%.
is real low. But I'm meeting a lot of marketers that are at these companies that sell things that everybody else would think is boring, but the people in that space think it's fascinating.
Mhm.
And so if you can create
That's
something,
the most fun. Like
yeah,
that's the most fun. Like the clients I work with, the companies I work with, where it's so niche down, and it's like people buy this, or people do,
yes,
like, and especially like as I've gotten sort of out of software and into some different industries, it's like the bar is low, but it's also, that to me is the most fun, because it's like, if we just do anything that's helpful, useful, entertaining,
yes.
interesting, like you said, that
Dude,
bar is low.
we've started running a 5 segment format for our video podcasts. And so it's a forcing function for us to think about, instead of just the traditional podcast that covers a topic and has a guest and just says, okay, let's explore this topic together and let's have a 30-minute conversation about this topic. Most podcasts are that way. We've said, okay, how can we build out a format that forces us to explore this topic more creatively, in a way that helps us create more interesting clips, helps us like break the flow, keep engagement higher. Because listening to me drone on for 30 minutes is like not
No, people are
there's a
gonna
lot
love this,
better
James.
options.
Don't kid yourself. People will
Yeah.
love this.
But so by building in a different segment, like we usually have an opening segment that's about 10 minutes that does allow for that. It's just kind of a more like organic discussion about the topic between the co-hosts. But then it's like the next one is like a 5-minute segment where it's a game where it's like you're asking me, you're reading off quotes from the best books on leadership, and I have to tell you like, oh, that was a Lencioni book, and then we riff on like what our biggest learning was from that book. um, and so we do that for 5 minutes. And then we roll into another segment where it's like, okay, I'm going to give you a real life scenario of a content team. And you have to tell me what you would do in that situation. Ready? All right. Like, here we go. And so you're gamifying a little bit. You're making it fun. It still requires expertise, right? These are B2B shows. People are listening because they want to get better at work. They want to upskill. Now, that doesn't mean your butthole has to be so tight that everything you say is just super professional and you have to be so perfect in everything you deliver. Like, you're human, right? But
Hmm.
you can. I've found that these segments kind of allow you to do both of those things. And so even something as simple as that, right? Like adding segments to your episodic content that allow for some creativity, now gives you multiple pieces of content, because you can cut that up. Like we do a segment where it's like a reacting to we're doing a show for a client that's in the veterinary space, trying to reach veterinarians. And so I just sourced some clips from Turner and Hooch and from Marley and Me. And I'm going to have the 2 veterinarian co-hosts live react in the last segment of 2 of the episodes we're producing this weekend. They're going to live react to a scene from both of those movies. Well, those 7-minute clips or 5-minute clips or whatever are going to become their own standalone YouTube videos that actually do have a shot at popping off organically. But they've got a much better shot if we target veterinarians with those videos on YouTube and put a little bit of ad money behind it to make sure that the right people see them. And then once the right people see them, if we've done our jobs right and produced top shelf stuff,
Hmm.
they've delivered on camera, it's going to be a good video. The engagement's going to be there, and YouTube's going to be like, oh, we need to show this to way more people. So paid and organic, I think, can work well. We're in the early journey of this, so I don't want to pretend like we've been doing paid media on this kind of content forever. There are some people that would tell you that, like, oh, when you start paying, then YouTube hinders your organic reach. I have not found that to be the case on one particular channel that I've run, where we did some paid media and then we had a video pop off and got 150,000 views that we did. I don't even think we put any spin behind. So I'm not convinced that like YouTube penalizes channels that use their ad platform. Like, they want people on their platform. And so, all that to say, I think there's a lot of rabbit holes you could run down here, but there's so many examples of these niches that it does not, again, the bar is really low. You can get creative. You can do top shelf stuff that is fun, is engaging, does break through, but get over this notion that organically distributing it is the most efficient way to get the content in front of the right people. You're going to have to pay for it. And I think when people can get over that hurdle, they're going to start seeing a lot more success and frankly, a lot more buy-in. Like, just like performance marketers can rely on quant kind of metrics to be like, oh, well, look at this conversion percentage to blah, 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 blah. When you look at the traditional playbook, it's like, okay, but how many of those are actually converting down funnel? How many of those ebook downloads are actually turning into new business? And I mean, Chris Walker's done multiple posts on this, like breaking down data from different.
I've lived this life. It's low.
Yeah, it's
it's expensive and it's low.
It's abysmal, but they're still getting budget because they're able to say, well, we spent this many dollars and it resulted in this many things. Well, you as a content marketer, if you get your head around using paid media to amplify what you're doing, can now say, hey, this is the targeting we dialed in, whether it's on Meta ads, whether it's LinkedIn ads, whether it's YouTube. This is the targeting we used. This is the content we like put the spend behind. So we know that, like, our point of view, what we believe about the world, what we believe about the problem that we are trying to solve in the market, we now got that piece of content in front of this percentage of our TAM and we know we did because we paid the ad platform to do it for us. So I think content marketers need to be equipped with that data to be able to tell the story so that they can get more investment, because you're going to, the more you invest in this, the quicker your market is going to start to see your ideas. If your points of view resonate, you're going to learn much faster than if you're just relying on organic, an organic mechanism to then find out, okay, 3 years later, our POV doesn't actually resonate. Dude, like B2B growth, our podcast we've been running for like 8 years. We have been banging our heads against the wall trying to figure out how to crack YouTube. I think we've got like 645 subscribers. We launched a new show for chief information security officers, launched it January 7th, started doing paid media on YouTube to a targeted audience. We have 445 subscribers in like 3 weeks. What has taken us 8 years to build up on B2B growth, we just did in 3 weeks. And I'm sitting over here like punching myself in the face going, what have we been doing? Like, we've been playing this game on hard mode for almost a decade, when like obviously 8 years ago, the ad platforms weren't what they are today. And like, who knows if we wouldn't have been able to do what we can do now back then. But I think we've got to stop sleeping on paid media as content marketers, and start demanding that we get some of that budget.
So is that, like, walk me through the step-by-steps on that. Like, I'm not a paid media person. I don't have a paid media person, but if I wanted to start doing, or like, and because Sweetfish is doing this for them, right?
Yeah.
Or you were like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what, give me the rundown here. I'm going to start running paid ads on my CISO podcast, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah. So we really focus on YouTube and LinkedIn. So with LinkedIn, it's it's depending on what you want to measure, right? If you want more listens because you think your executive team wants to see that people are listening to the show, like you can do single image ads on LinkedIn, partner with your paid media person and be like, hey, this is how much budget the VP is giving me. I want to run, a single image ad getting people to the podcast. I think you could do a video ad too, but want to keep it simple, single image ad, drive it to a landing page where the only option is for them to like listen to your best episode and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So like keep it very simple. Drive traffic to that page. We're seeing you can do that. Like you can get like $4 downloads. And that sounds expensive, but when your TAM is 8,000 people, like getting one of those people to listen to an episode of your content and give them an at bat to subscribe um, is pretty huge. And LinkedIn then gives you the data to know, okay, who went to the page, who clicked on this link,
Mm.
and so you can then report back and say, hey, we were able to reach 6,500 senior level, you know, information security professionals. So that's on the LinkedIn side. I also think LinkedIn thought leader ads are, if you're more concerned with just like the consumption of like a clip, I think you'll get a lot. I think it's more efficient from a spend perspective to have your co-hosts take the clips from the show, run them organically first, and then put money behind the ones that like do a little bit better organically, put some dollars behind those posts. Or maybe it doesn't even do better organically, but your co-host like really articulated your point of view really well. Throw $1,000 behind that post, target it at your list of 450 target accounts or whatever it is, and see how it performs. See, like, can you get your target market consuming your thoughts and ideas? Now, if you imagine having 10 or 20 clips out in the ether that you're all running, you've all got like $10 a day campaigns running on to a very specific set of target accounts. Like it's people aren't going to see one clip and go, oh, I got to
Mhm.
work with this company. They need to see it 15, 20, 25 times. Just like, I mean, this is advertising 101. We all know this stuff. But we're in a fight for mind share, and so if you have a strong point of view, if you believe a certain way about the way your market is working or the way your market is broken, you've got to be able to communicate that in a variety of different ways and guarantee that you can get in front of those people. So thought leader ads, traditional single image ads. On the YouTube side, it's a matter of like connecting your Google Ads account to YouTube. You can go in and figure out how to do this yourself. And it's contextual based on buckets. So like they're going to have you put in like, what topics is this audience interested in? Do you want to optimize for subscribers or for views? I really like optimizing for subscribers at first to get, because we're starting with a lot of shows that are from scratch, right? So like, can we go from 0 to 1 and
Mhm.
okay, let's get 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And before that would have been a multi-year long undertaking. And now we can do that in one campaign because it's like, okay, for about $3.50 a subscriber, 3,500 bucks. Let's get 1,000 subscribers in this first month and a half, and let's rip. Now you've got a channel that's actually credible. So if you do want to bring some guests in from time to time because they're a target account or whatever, you now look like a legitimate channel
Mhm.
because it's like, hey, we've got over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I don't think people in B2B land are obsessed with like big numbers. I think people know like, hey, there's 8,000, like there are 8,000 CISOs in North America. Like if there's a channel that's got 1,000 of them subscribed, that's probably worthy of my, me paying attention to. So anyway, that's what I like. I've been spending a lot more time with YouTube. I just think YouTube is everybody's consuming YouTube
Mhm.
content today, whether you're a senior level executive or you're a 14-year-old kid. And and so we've been really pushing YouTube, but LinkedIn does give you richer targeting. So if you need to tell the story to your executive team, like, look, we know we reached these specific types of buyers at our target accounts. if you need to be able to tell that story to get buy-in, then LinkedIn is obviously going to be able to give you the reporting that allows you to tell that story. YouTube can't.
Mhm.
The story you can tell with YouTube is we targeted based on these these keywords, these topics. So people that searched these types of things got our content got in front of those people. But that's obviously softer. You don't know exactly who those people are because people aren't putting that information into YouTube whenever they sign up to an account,
Yep.
like they do with LinkedIn. So does that like paint a more like at least give you a directional idea of like where to start?
Yeah, to me, it's funny. It's like paid media it's fun. It truly is funny to me. Like paid media is just a distribution channel. Like
Yes.
it's like what you said. It's like a guaranteed way to share this information with the right people you want to. Now, again, it's going to cost you money to do that, but as I'm thinking through like the distribution first framework and all the things, like you've already touched on things, right? Like you got to have a POV, you got
Yep.
to have your core messages, you got to have your core audience, like nailed down who you're talking to, why you're talking to them, what that matters, right? Before you even worry about doing any of this paid or organic distribution, before you
Yep.
worry about distributing content, make sure you have good content.
Yep.
And then going through in terms of optimization and maximization and measurement and how you tell that story, those are all the same things, right? Like I would similarly want to share organically the reach we had, the types of themes and points of view we were trying to get out into the message or into the marketplace. It's a little bit different, like you said, depending with organic. Maybe LinkedIn, you could potentially it be super manual to like pull some of that data and who was maybe commenting or seeing the individual post, but with paid, you could probably get there a little bit faster.
Yep.
But I think like messages out into the audience, pure numbers on those channels are great, right? Subs, views, watches, listens, impressions. Like, hey, this month we got this much impact to our CISO market.
Yep.
Awesome. And all paid is just like I'm gonna pour some gasoline out of this fire and amplify. You already mentioned like I'm gonna amplify some of the organic stuff we're already doing. I'm gonna be able, and I think there's things organically, and you probably know this inherently. Like there's things you've learned by playing it on hard mode that
Yep.
make paid easier.
Yep.
Like there's things that I know from organic and what works organically and what doesn't and all of those things where like I know if I put money behind an ad, what would be better and what
Right.
wouldn't. Because I think sometimes people have this when you start talking about ads, it starts getting real
Yeah.
weird real quick in terms of like I'm gonna shoot
Yeah.
an advertisement.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, that's not exactly what you want to do.
No, not at all. Like on you're exactly right, man. Like all the learnings that we have figured out on thumbnail and how many words do you put on a thumbnail? Like what's the title? What's the maximum, title length for, optimal for YouTube? Like all of those things, like opening hooks, ideas, the topic still matters. All of that stuff still matters. It's like still play the game as if organic was the only thing you were relying on. And then imagine if you had this superpower to be able to
Mhm.
guarantee that the exact people that could potentially be interested in this idea now get it showing up in their feed because you have paid for it to show up in their feed. If you've done the thumbnail right, if you've done the headline right, if the opening hook is right, if the idea is sick, well, of course they're going to click on it. They're even more like they're so much more likely to click on it, um, and because you've got your fundamentals down. And so,
Mhm.
like, I mean, our first call that we do, I've got a kickoff call in like 24 minutes here, and our first kickoff call is like locking in like getting our clients to riff on what their points of view are. And so
Mhm.
I love that you push so hard on this because it is just not something that companies spend a lot of time on. Like, what do we believe about the world? Like, whether it's contrarian, whether it's like a future state vision of like, this is where we think our industry can go. These are the things we think are holding back our space, but like getting them riffing. And then our homework after that call is to go away and go, okay, how can we synthesize what they've said? These are obviously internal conversations they've probably had hundreds of times, but they've never succinctly boiled it down into a statement that they
Mhm.
can like that can be a rally cry. And so we'll boil those down. So on our second call, we're like, hey, here's what we heard you say your points of view were. boom, 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 boom. We want to build we want to anchor this show around these core beliefs. So it informs like what the closing statement of the show is. It informs like how we do like teleprompter segues between segments. Like we can, it informs how we write the sponsor message that we put into the show. Like it informs everything. And but if you don't do that work, and it's literally like it does not need to be rocket science because
No.
it's not like you're etching this in stone. Like collaborate with ChatGPT, like have a conversation with your CEO, drop the transcript into ChatGPT, and go, hey, well, like how would you distill this point of view from our CEO in a sentence in like a quippy way? And I guarantee you, ChatGPT will get you really far. Um, and uh, and then just use that like as a rallying cry and see if it resonates with the market. And if it doesn't, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and try it again. And so, and when you do this with paid media as a tool in your tool belt, not the only thing you're relying on, but like a tool
Mhm.
in your tool belt, you can validate the resonance so much faster. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's content marketers just like being kind of purists. Um, I don't know if it's like more demand Jenny type, Chris Walker type marketers just not wanting to give over budget because they've got like very specific, like we need trackable things that we have to use with these dollars, and so they're protective. I don't know what it is. That is honestly, the more and more I talk to marketers about it, I think it's just something that just hasn't even dawned on them. Like in their mind,
Mhm.
paid media is used to, oh, this we can only do like trackable MQLs, like ebooks and webinars. Then you ask the next question, and it's like, how much are those ebooks and webinars actually turning into closed won business? Oh yeah, not very well. So why is all of your paid media budget going to do
Mhm.
something that isn't actually translating? And it
It's
does.
no I mean, it's no different even trying to get somebody to do or and again, it's hard. I have been there, the uplift of, like, it's inherently risky to do anything different. Like,
Yeah,
change is
yeah,
risky, good or bad change, and so, to switch up the model, I would say, just speaking from my experiences as a content marketer, traditionally, like, content marketing is separate from demand gen. And that's where all the paid media
yeah,
budget is housed in, right?
yeah,
Whether that's internally or externally, like I create the content, cool. Like, again, traditionally, like I'm writing blogs, I'm trying to rank organically. Again, organic is this very,
yeah,
and in a lot of companies, even like social media is separate from all of those
yeah,
things. And so now you're just silos on silos on silos. And so, which can be tough to combat. But I think from your perspective of, some of the best conversations that I've had around distribution and even like, because part of my part of my POV, right, is like we need to put, like, there's not enough focus on distribution, let alone
yeah,
paid, like just any, like, can we just like focus on getting the content in front of the right audience? And so you have to ask a lot of those right questions, at start pulling through some threads, start really diving into what we're doing, like why are we doing the ebook to begin with? Why are we running this ad set to begin with? Why are we
yes,
creating this show to begin with? I think podcast, long form content, I think the distribution side is amazing, like clips, getting people in, but there's also something long term that is so valuable, even on a small scale, right? Like if you got 1,000 people subscribe to that show, let's say 30% of them are religious listeners.
yeah,
You now have 300 people who listen to you talk about that thing every week, every other week, every month for 30, 60, 90 minutes.
yeah,
They're getting your take. They understand who you are. They understand. And now it's like, now I know, like, and trust you. So,
yes,
like, when I think about building up content, like at the top of the funnel, like, that's my goal. Get
yes,
like my LinkedIn content. If I'm working with a company, LinkedIn content, individuals, if I'm building like, how can I at scale get somebody to know, like, and trust me? And
you
I think
nailed
what
it.
you're talking about with paid media is I can still do that. I can still do that, but I can do it way faster. And I
Yes.
can do it, I can just put some money behind it and do it way faster than I ever could before.
And you don't need to do it forever either.
That's
That's
a
the
great
beautiful thing
point.
about
That's a
this.
great point.
It's this is where when you're doing it with a webinar or an ebook, you have like the very nature of it is like, all right, we got to spin up another ad campaign and and get this in front of people. But with a podcast, people subscribe. I mean, it's a subscription thing. So what if they listen to a couple episodes and are like, I really jam with what this guy's saying, I'm going to subscribe. Now Spotify, Apple, YouTube's algorithm doesn't work that way. Just because someone subscribes to your channel doesn't mean that every video is going to come through
Yep.
your feed. But once you get them into that ecosystem, they follow you on Spotify. So every episode is now going to be in their feed or Apple Podcasts. You get them on your newsletter. So they're getting your newsletter delivered to their inbox. Like by using paid to get the media property, the media brand in front of them, you now get long-term consumption because of the nature of this medium is like
Mm.
people don't subscribe to webinars. They don't subscribe to ebooks. They subscribe to these episodic shows. And if you infuse personality and you really free up your on-air talent, which I think should be at least 3 co-hosts, that's another POV that we can riff on later. But you're infused like, and you're really freeing them up to be them and to not just like sound like a sterile corporate cog in a machine. That's when you get that like right, you're hearing it while they're walking their dog. They're hearing somebody not just talk about supply chain logistics and what happened last week with the tariff proposal or whatever. They're hearing about this kid or this person that just had a baby. And
Right.
they're like, so they're actually connecting with them as a human while that human is weaving in their expertise and making them like trust that, oh, I am actually going to be shaped in the decisions I'm making for the company I work for because of this person, not just because they're an expert and they're really smart, but also because I like them. Like I want them to win as a human. So whenever my business has a need, they're obviously going to be the first person that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to want to work with because they've been in my ear while I've been walking my dog for the last 6 months.
And like filling the bucket, that's a really interesting way to think about using paid media spend initially as like, let's fill the bucket. Let's, create something that is super valuable, entertaining, interesting, educational, whatever you want to do, right? Like let's build something that's interesting, fun, and again, like the host having fun with it
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
But then once you have those 1,000 people who are in, they're in.
Yeah.
They can subscribe, they can unsubscribe, but you can track that.
Yeah.
you can see where you're at, right? Like you can track your email numbers, you can track your subscribe numbers, you can track your follower numbers. And again, it's such a different world that we're in, but like, yeah, put a little money in, fill the bucket, start doing then you ramp up organic again and start doing those things. And then you can always level up and add more and
Yeah.
always level up and add more and
Yeah.
really see kind of how that works. Dude, I'm super interested. This is a really good thought experiment for me and even for a lot of the businesses and companies that I work with. Like how can we start thinking about using paid ads in a very like almost investing way, like
Yeah.
investment way of we're going to take some of this money, we're going to invest it in here, we're going to bring some people into our ecosystem, and hopefully we win them over because we're going to create the best content that we can out there.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I just love the idea that I would be thinking about it in terms of like 12 to 24 month window. Like what are we going to spend if we're going to create this media property? What are we going to spend in the first 12 to 24 months to seed the base of it so that we don't we eventually back off? Like this is not going to be something that you just have to continue to pour tens of thousands of dollars of money into every month like you do with your ebook campaigns.
Hmm.
But you can be and you can be endlessly more creative with like the segments you put into your show, the topics you cover, the hosts that you choose to bring into the show. Like there's you can do it in a way that actually matches what human behavior is. People are not walking around the neighborhood walking their dog listening to webinars.
Right.
like like I'm a super business nerd. I love business content. I can not tell you one time that I've ever walked around the neighborhood and listened to a MarTech company's webinar. Like
Nope.
that's just not how humans work. And so I think we've got to start adapting what we're doing as content teams to what people are actually consuming, and that it requires getting out of the checkbox mentality like you preach all the time, and actually thinking, going to first principles and going like what is actually what actually has a shot at engaging our audience. And then we can, because of these ad platforms, we can guarantee the distribution of it. It doesn't guarantee that somebody's going to subscribe to it. If the content sucks, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to probably waste a lot of money. um, so but so there's still, it's not like a get out of jail free card. Like you still have to do the right things the right way. But you got a way better shot at doing it if you're paying to get in front of the right people.
And I would even say it doesn't like even as if you're getting started, it doesn't have to be a full on podcast where, hey, we're, at never ending, creation of a weekly show either. You could do seasons. You could
Yep.
do, a
Yep.
6-season episode.
We're doing six. We're doing six. Our
There you go.
standard is a 6-episode season. So people come into the studio, they batch record 6 episodes in a day and a half in our studio. We drip it out every 2 weeks. Then they come back and batch create again. So like, because if you've got the right subject matter experts hosting the show or the CEO hosting the show, their time is obviously insanely valuable. Is it worth 3, 4, 5 days a week for them to create content every week? Absolutely not. Is it worth it for them to create content for 2 days a quarter? Absolutely it is. But you've got to create the environment that actually allows that to happen. So we've designed what we do around that reality. But whether you work with us, or whether you're doing this in-house, like just talking to a big company that's building their own studio is like freaking dope. But they're still going to need to have a system where they bring in the right people and just say, you are doing nothing today but creating content. You're not going to have to do it again for another few months. But today is your day to just sit down and be really smart on camera.
And this is where I think truly, like, I just sat down and did this whiteboard exercise yesterday, where companies, if you really do think distribution first and you understand what your content floor is on these channels, I mean, we'll think like posting organically, right? Like, where do you need to show up? Like if I'm posting a short and a full length on YouTube, like how many do I need in any given month? Like what is the ideal plan, or even like the sort of minimum viable plan that we can have? What's our minimum viable on LinkedIn? What's our minimum viable for email? Pick your channels, whatever. It could be Instagram for somebody or whatever. And then you reverse engineer, how much content do I even need to be able to fill that up? Yeah. Like we reverse engineered it yesterday, where it was like, if we did one full length thing during the month, we would be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Based on where we need to go and other things that we're creating. So like, because part of it too, when you that is a struggle for content marketers in particular, is there's still the blogs, there still is the webinars, there still is this thing. So like, how do I balance it all? And it's like, well, that's where distribution first comes in. You got to figure out what you even need, and then you can just literally fill in the bits as you go.
Yep. Super smart. I love the way you're thinking about this stuff, man.
Awesome. Well, James, it was a blast chatting with you. It was a blast learning a little bit more about paid media. It's like opened my eyes up a ton. I think this would be helpful for a lot of the folks who listen to the show who maybe paid media is not their game, not what they do, but I think they absolutely could use it. And I love the reframe of, if I were going to talk to my VP, my director, as far as how we're going to think about using paid media, I'm thinking about it from what you said: guaranteed distribution to the people we want to reach. I'm gonna guarantee that when I create this thing, that we're gonna get it in front of the right audience, and then I'm gonna go become best friends with my demand gen leader, or my best friends with my paid ads person. Or if you don't have one, I'm gonna start to figure this stuff out, and I'm gonna learn. Okay, if I could do a little test on paid media over the next 3 months, what does that look like? How does that work? And then if you're able to add a guaranteed distribution level to your distribution plan, it's only going to help you.
Yes.
It's only going to help you.
Yep.
Awesome, James. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you back later and chat all things POVs and stuff, man.
All right.
Sweet.
Bye.
Thanks, man.